Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Recently, I've seen a lot of news articles where the headlines have been blaming influencers for the increase of numbers of emergency rescue call-outs within the Welsh Mountains. And I think on the whole, it's a load of rubbish. I've not properly read the articles, but just from the headlines I've seen, I think it's pretty rubbish. I think influencers have a part to play, and I think that's what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with on the whole. They're promoting people and encouraging people to go out, enjoy the outdoors, explore some of the most incredible spots that we've got within the UK. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think the issues arise when people see these posts and think, oh yeah, I can do that and I can get there easy. And they're potentially not the most fit of people. They're underestimate what the weather's going to be like, and they get into difficulty and they're not properly prepared for it. And that's when the issues arise. I think the influencers promote people getting out, which is amazing. We've got all this amazing areas of natural beauty within the UK, and it's great to see people going out and encouraging people to go out and explore these areas. When people underestimate potentially how difficult the route is, that's when the emergency rescue call-outs happen and all the issues arise. So today I thought I would start a mini series kind of going over some things to consider when you're going out to potentially a new place, taking on a new route, and sort of you're not sure where to start. Maybe it's your first time going out hiking and you want to make sure you're safe. Because I think it's incredible going out and enjoying all the areas of natural beauty. But if you're not safe, then you're not just creating risks for yourself, but you're also creating risks for other people who potentially will have to help you. So I thought this might be quite a beneficial series. And today I'm going to kind of go through the planning side of it, so like all the preparation. And there's not much, you can probably do it within half an hour. And it's stuff I do now as well. So I'm an outdoor pursuits instructor. I predominantly work with children between the age of 4 to 13, and I take a lot of groups out into mainly the Brecon Beacons, but also Snowdon and places like that within the UK. So I've got a lot of experience planning routes and choosing the correct route choice, or making the correct route choices and choosing the right routes to take these school groups out on. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing is your objective. What are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to get to? It could be a route, it could be a summit, it could be anything really. So today we're going to choose Iwedira or Snowdon. Apologies if I butchered the Welsh pronunciation of it. My pronunciation is not the best. But we now have our objective. So that brings us to point 2, which is choosing the right route. Now there's 6 routes up Snowdon. You got the Llanberis Pass, the Llanberis Path, which is by far the easiest route. It's kind of long, slow, not very steep terrain, but it is a challenging route for some people. And it goes along up past the train track. So if you do get into difficulty, it is the easiest route to get help on. You then have some very difficult routes. So Crib Goch is probably the best example. It is by far the most challenging, and at points it's got 50 centimetre paths where you have sheer 300 metre drops on either side. So if it's windy, if it's busy, if you've got like any bad weather, you're scared of heights, anything like that, it's an absolute no-go. So during high season, so like middle of summer, I'd never do it. Winter, if it's really snowy, there's high winds, again, not a chance. I'd probably only do it with someone who I'm comfortable doing it with, someone who I know is very confident with their foot placement and confident on terrain like that. Otherwise, they could have a massive freak out on it and potentially a huge issue could arise. And then you've got Pigs Track, Miners Track, which are scrambly routes, but good fun and very nice routes. But again, they're somewhere in the middle, probably slightly on the harder side of things. You then have the Watkins Path, which is what my last video was on, which is a beautiful walk, not particularly challenging for the first part, up past the waterfalls, really, really beautiful, really quite an easy route. But then you get to the top part of the route and it becomes very challenging. You've got a very slippy, scree slope, and it is very difficult, that top section up to the summit. The last 200-300 meters up, yeah, it's quite difficult. And then the last one I've never actually done, but that comes up from the other side of Snowdon, and again, it's quite a long path, but it's quite a nice path as well from what I've heard. So they're all good options, but you really need to choose the path that's right for you. So that kind of brings me on to point 2.5/point 3, which is knowing your abilities. If you're someone who's very fit, gets out a lot, and you're very confident in the mountains and in difficult terrain, then 100% go for Crib Goch or the Miners Path, the Watkins Path, the Pigs Track. Whereas if you're someone who's never really gone outside before, never really done long walks, not too confident in going out, I'd suggest doing the Llanberis Path. It's the longest route by distance, but it is the easiest route. And it's a good start to getting into the outdoors for definite. So once you kind of have an idea of your abilities, whether that's because you've gone out and done a few training walks at home, or you're out all the time and you're very confident, you kind of know roughly what your ability is. And then you can look up online, quick Google search will show you all the routes, and it will quite often give you a rating of like 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, 3 or 5 being the hardest, 1 being the easiest. So then you can sort of choose what you think would be best suited to you. Instead of seeing something on Instagram or YouTube and thinking, oh, that looks absolutely beautiful, I want to do that. You might find actually it's a bit out of your comfort zone. It's a too difficult route for you, or you might think, oh yeah, that's completely fine for me. But you need to be honest with yourself, because if you're not, and you take on a route that's too difficult or too hard for you, then that's potentially where the issues will arise, and you could get into a lot of trouble by getting halfway up and then realizing actually I shouldn't have done this, and then having to call out mountain rescue or slipping, hurting yourself, something like that. So you really need to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I think I can do this, or actually maybe that's a bit too hard and I'll do an easier route up. And I think that's the main part where the issues arise with people going out, and what's causing the main influx in mountain rescue call outs. So once you've kind of got your route and you know your ability, you can then start looking at the weather. Looking at the weather allows you to pack correctly for what you're gonna expect for the day. So if it's really hot, sunny, I'm gonna take lots of water, I'll take lots of food, maybe I'll take fewer layers as well. Whereas if it's really cold, really wet, really windy, that's also gonna affect my route choice. Because if it's really windy, I'm not gonna do Crib Goch. If it's really cold, I'm gonna take some warm layers. I'm gonna potentially bring a hot chocolate or something warm to drink at the summit or along the route to keep me nice and warm. I'm also gonna be taking waterproofs. If I know it's gonna be wet, windy, waterproofs will help, because waterproofs will keep me dry, and it will also act as a wind shell so I won't get cold. So it allows you so looking at the weather allows you to pack accordingly, and also have a better idea of choosing the right route for the right day. It might say you're in Snowdon for a week and the best day of weather is Wednesday. So then you're like, okay, I really want to do this walk. I want to get good views. So this is the best day for it because it's the most likely I'm going to get the best views on it. Whereas it might be, oh, they're all about the same, so it doesn't really matter what day I do it. So I can just pick any random day. I'd say if you're looking at a forecast now and you're looking to do a walk over the next week, I'd say after 3 days, the weather forecasts start to become a bit unreliable. So I would then keep on checking back daily and seeing if they've changed at all, because obviously they could change overnight or in a few hours. So with the weather, you can do it in a couple of minutes, really. You can check it very easily. There's lots of good apps. You've got BBC Weather, which is like the obvious one, but you've also got the Met Office, which I'd say is better for mountainous regions. You've got the mountain weather forecasts, which tell you like an overview for the whole of the UK, as well as various areas. So like the Peak Districts, the Lake Districts, Snowdonia, Brecon Beacons, Scottish Highlands, all of that, and it gives you more localised forecasts as well. There's like giant overviews for the whole of the country. And there's a few other ones. I'll try link them below. So if you do need, or if you are interested in looking at any of them, you should find them there. So that's sort of the main thing when it comes to preparation and the planning. And to be honest, I normally do that in about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. It really doesn't take long, but it's well worth doing, especially if you're going with friends, young children, or you've got no experience in the mountains at all, as it will allow you, like I said, allow you to pack accordingly, make sure you choose the right route for who you're going with and for your abilities, because there's nothing worse than starting a route and then you get halfway up the mountain and it starts raining and all you've got is shorts and t-shirt, and then you get to the summit and you're already soaked through, and the only way down is the way you've come because the train's not working and you have to walk back absolutely soaking. By the time you've got to the car, you're shivering and all you want to do is curl up in front of a fire with a hot chocolate or something a little bit stronger. And it's happened to me and it's horrible. And I definitely learned from that it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. And it's something I always take with me into like any time I go out into the mountains. It's always something I consider, what's the worst case scenario. So once you've planned everything, so what's my objective? Where am I going? How am I getting there? What's the best route for me and for the group that I'm taking or going with? And what's the best day for doing it? What's the best time even? Is it better weather in the morning? Is it better weather in the afternoon? That can have a big effect on when you start and when you finish. So once you've done that, you can then start to prepare yourself. And what I mean by that is making sure you've got all the right stuff for the mountain. And that's the thing I'm going to come on to in the next video. But it's very simple things like making sure you've got first aid kit. Have you got the right stuff in it? Have you got the right layers and the right clothing? Have you got a map and a compass potentially? All sorts of things like that. And like, do you know what to do if something bad does happen? Do you know how to call mountain rescue? So like I said, that's all stuff I'll go into in the next video. So I hope you found the video interesting and helpful when it comes to planning your routes and choosing what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, and sort of being prepared a little bit when it comes to the weather. Obviously, like I said, I'll go into that more in the next video. But if you have found it interesting and helpful, please leave a like, a comment and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you in the next video.